Now, you guys go ahead and take a look at this. I want you guys to see this. This is going to be a segment we're going to do on working memory. You can see this. Picture, little girl counting on her fingers. Now, I'm only going to hit the high points, but you guys feel free to read this. Okay, right here, this is about working memory. He said, we decided to step back from the complexity and ask a single basic question. What is short-term memory for? The patient with a memory span of only 2 digits seems to cope with life effectively. Perhaps short-term memory had no function other than to keep experimental psychologists amused. If that were so, we decided we would rather amuse ourselves in other ways. There had already been a good deal of discussion as to the probable role of short-term memory, and there was a fairly general agreement that its function was to serve as a working memory, a system that allowed several pieces of information to be held in mind at the same time and interrelated. What does this have to do with chess? Well, it has a lot to do with chess. It's affected when you're playing a chess game. When you've got a lot of stuff going on, you got to keep track of. Yeah, it's all tied together. Let's go ahead and center this. I don't like how that's going. Look at the long digits here, long numbers, 7 of them. Wim Klein, the human computer specialist in lightning mental arithmetic. The number he's written on the blackboard exactly tallies with the answer given by a computer. And then it tells you the type of information, processing of information in working memory. Forget about all this. The main thing is we're talking about working memory. So when he has to do all of this, I want you guys to see this. When he's doing the mental arithmetic, think of these like chess moves. Like say you were going to calculate, each one would be a different type of move. They could be a piece or a pawn. A number could represent anything, a piece or a pawn, and it could be just a move. It could be a capture. One of your pieces get captured, whatever. But there's a lot of similarity here to chess. Okay, mic's on, I'm recording. You guys read this over and take this test and see how you do. The test proved very successful for the purpose and could be carried out after a small amount of practice by virtually all the subjects I tested. By counting how many sentences my divers could complete correctly in 3 minutes, I was able to get a very rapid measure of their mental capability at depth. It also proved to be reasonably sensitive, picking up impairment even at 100 feet, about the shallowest depth at which one can reliably detect impaired performance. Now, if short-term memory is indeed required for reasoning, one should have difficulty doing a sentence checking test of the kind just described while remembering telephone numbers. We were anxious not to overload our subjects, so we began by giving them just 1 or 2 items to remember while doing the test. And then notice here where he says when they gave them 6 numbers to remember, it approaches the average digit span, 6 numbers, and so ought to occupy a great deal of one's short-term memory system. Like this, 731928 was given a 6-digit number and then required to say it out loud and to continue saying it. Meanwhile, a sentence such as A precedes B, BA, was shown to him, and he was required to press a key marked true or one marked false, while continuing to rehearse the telephone number. Our subjects were initially rather horrified at being asked to do these 2 things at the same time, but somewhat to their surprise, they discovered that they made very few errors on either the digit span or sentence checking task. Hold on, it gets good. With 6-digit numbers, however, there was a consistent tendency for reasoning to be slowed, though the magnitude of the disruption was much less than we had expected. Was this slowing down evidence that short-term memory acts as a working memory system? All things considered, our results seem to be telling us that short-term store is involved in the system used for reasoning, comprehending, and learning, but that this involvement is by no means total. And the 2 systems appeared to have overlapping components, but were by no means entirely dependent on the same limited capacity system. Don't read all that, just forget about that for right now. This week we're just doing a memory segment on working memory. And you'll notice here, make sure you read this part before you do all this, before you do the test. Make sure you read that. Give you an example. Right here. Varied from simple active sentences such as A follows B dash AB, to which the correct answer is obviously false. Passive sentences such as B is followed by A, to which the correct answer is obviously true. To more complex versions such as A is not preceded by B, EA, to which the answer would be false, and so on. Check off your answers in the true-false column. You might just write these down on a piece of paper or type them up and then give them to a friend or family member and see how fast they can complete that test. Go as fast as you can down the column, down the other column, and just make a check mark, true or false. And do that while remembering, constantly saying that 6-digit number over and over. But for chess purposes, what I would have you do is repeat back 6 moves from a chess game.
Yeah, just try to do this test and see what you get, and then compare your results with how you work at chess. You'll notice there's a lot of similarities. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, just a simple thing like choice A, choice B. Real simple. And it's from our book that we showed you before called Your Memory, a User's Guide by Alan Badley. Oh, there is one more. Wanted to show you guys one here on Kasparov. Thought you'd get a kick out of it. Now, you notice down here that it says, although a computer has a faultless memory, it cannot match the strategic skills of the world's best players. We'd certainly say that Kasparov was one of the world's best players, if not the best player. And we actually have that book by Adrian de Groot. You'll find that at PC Chess Club. he did a study on chess players and how they think. So you can check us out online. Email us, pcchessclub@yahoo.com. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. Yeah. The masters correctly placed 90%. Yeah. 90%. And they just took a single 5-second glimpse. I was just kind of moving my finger along, underlining some of that for you guys to follow along, the parts I wanted you to read. And the weaker players, they only got 40%. And you notice that it's about patterns. Notice right there, you know, they could recall bridge hands. Electronics experts could do well-designed circuits. But in each case, the expert is able to organize the material into a meaningful and lawful pattern. I'll go ahead and point that out where it says lawful pattern. And you guys see what you think about that. Notice that pattern recognition right there. See my thumb? Where it says pattern recognition. Yeah. In order to do so, the chess player, bridge player, or electronics expert brings to bear a rich background of experience. Notice these words that I just underlined for you guys. You just read through the material at a steady rate. Yeah. A lot of lab demos of the importance of organization for memory. And that's where I just underlined it with my thumb. Did you guys catch that part where they were talking about unstructured material? Yeah, compared with the recall of material with built-in structure. And just read through that list at the bottom, read through the words twice, and then write down as many as you can remember. No set order. Just write down whatever you can remember. That's fine. You don't have to get them in the exact order as the book. But imagine if you're having trouble just remembering simple words, something you definitely know. Imagine what a tough time it's going to be if you try to remember a bunch of chess moves. And this applies especially to the openings. Yeah, cover them up. Read them, cover them up. Read them. Then just write them down. You don't have to get them in any certain order. But most people find that the items organized in a hierarchy, the top panel, are much easier to remember than the others, although it is in fact quite possible to organize the second collection of items in the same way as the first. You'll notice down here we covered this in Harry Lorraine and Jerry Lucas' book, the one that we put in the other video called the Memory Book. Now maybe you guys are starting to see the importance of memory and how this all ties in to make you a better chess player. Because if you can't remember it, it's not going to do any good. So that's our book from the Your Memory. Thought you guys would enjoy that. And this is our other book that we promised to show you, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And there's a part on the back I want you guys to see that was really good by Anthony Robbins down at the bottom. It's right there. Yeah. As you can see, some of our books, we take a lot of notes, and we have some of the books that have a lot of notes in them, so they're not going to look brand new, but you could see that they have been put to good use and that they don't just all sit on a bookshelf. Take a look at that table of contents and see what you think. That'll give you a little sneak peek as to what it was. Oh, that's all acknowledgments. I thought those were like, you know, comments by other people. Here's the other book that we have, Making the Most of Your Child's Teachable Moments. This is another oldie but a goldie. This is a real good book. This is good if you're a parent and you have little kids, or a grandparent that deals with little kids, or if your job deals with little kids. Like for me, I'm a chess teacher, so I have to deal with little bitty kids, and a lot of times these are things that we give out to the parents, just little ideas. We'll bring books like this and say, hey, what do you think about some of these ideas? You think they would work with the kids? And at the same time, they're also getting something they can use with their own kid, because not every parent or grandparent's going to come to you and say, here's what I need help with, and then ask you about it. So if you put books like this on the table, they can flip through them, and you can kind of also see where the interest is. We'll take a look at one here. Try to find something that just about everybody could relate to. There you go. About going to bed. Now, if you have to put kids to bed, or you know somebody that has to put kids to bed, like maybe you don't have any little kids, but you know somebody with little kids, you could name off, like here, 5 activity starters. Like right there, establish a time for bed and a bedtime routine. Just a little bitty simple thing. Help your child evaluate their day. You know, if your child always seems wide awake at bedtime, use the time for talking or reading together. And there's others. Then right here you'll see, I think it's Psalm 4:8. Yeah, Psalm 4:8. There's a little prayer that goes with it. So you can say that little prayer, or, you know, teach little kids to say that prayer. Be a little Bible verse that'll relate all of this. So you got different sections: at home, away from home. Then you got nature, teachable moments during seasons, holidays and celebrations, just different ones. So that's our 2 books, and I hope you guys enjoyed. This is the Winning Chess Strategies book that we showed before, just to make sure, you know, that's who the players were. You guys have seen this, I'm sure, if you watched our other videos. If you have Winning Chess Strategies by Yasser Seirawan, just turn to page 132 and follow along. And we'll be showing you this in ChessBase. But here, in case you missed the other video, here's the book that we'll be using in this video. So you can see this and you can follow along. In fact, if you just resize the little browser window, you can pull up 2 of them side by side in YouTube. So you could pause one video on the part that has the book, and then the other video next to it will be the ChessBase chess set that we'll be using to cover all this. And that way you guys get the best of both worlds. But that's to let you know we didn't make any of this up. Everything we're reading off to you is from Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan.